What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track back with another video. I'm excited. I'm gonna fix that. Yeah, there we go. I'm excited to record this today. Obviously, we have an off week in the Cup Series. We've got Rockingham for the Trucks on Friday afternoon, and then we've got Rockingham for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on Saturday afternoon, which both should be a great show, great track, two good series. I think should and will provide good racing, which we really haven't seen in the Cup Series. So excited for that. But an off week for betting. So I wanted to do a different type of content this week. And I know a lot of people have had a lot of chatter in their own opinions on what I'm about to talk about. But I'm excited to make this video and talk about my take on kind of overall, but also some of the back and forth on Justin Allgaier in the Hall of Fame. So let's just start with, in my opinion, overall what I think one like Hall of Fame should be, and then two, kind of what the NASCAR Hall of Fame, in my opinion, should be, should represent, and who should, get their name, etched in that history, if you will. So, contrary to what Denny Hamlin and I believe Travis is his name on Denny's podcast said with their thoughts on should O'Reilly guys or Bush or Xfinity or whatever you wanted to call that trucks Craftsman Truck Series, however you wanted to call those series at that time, affect if you're able to get should those help build your resume into the NASCAR Hall of Fame? I say yes because, like I think, I've seen others say, which I agree with, is NASCAR is stamped on the Hall of Fame. It is not the NASCAR Cup Series Hall of Fame. It is the NASCAR Hall of Fame. So I do think overall those achievements should have weight to get a driver in the Hall of Fame, or really, anybody in the Hall of Fame. It could be a crew chief if you have, exceptional record in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series as a crew chief. That should count for a lot. But in my opinion, what we then need to weigh is, yes, that is something, but the pinnacle of our sport, the absolute pinnacle, the highest kind of, series that you can get to in American motorsports is the NASCAR Cup Series. That is the pinnacle of American motorsport. That should hold the highest standard. There are only, 36 right now full-time seats in that pinnacle series. And it's been that way for a while. I mean, you could go back maybe 40 to 43, full-time seats in the pinnacle of NASCAR, in the pinnacle of American motorsports. That should be what weighs the most in this argument. And if you are someone who never could succeed at the pinnacle or never make it to the pinnacle, then you have to have superb, exceptional, groundbreaking statistics to back up that within your craft in NASCAR, you were one of, if not the greatest to ever do it, or the greatest at your generation of time in that series. That is my opinion. So I think the Cup Series should hold about 95% of the weight. Then the other things that those could help build your resume if you were a fringe kind of like true Cup, like Hall of Fame stats guy, or if you're going to get in on being a truck guy or an O'Reilly guy, you have to do something that is so monumental with that series that you feel like, yeah, I don't even know, like the best Cup Series guys or the Hall of Fame Cup Series guys, that's what they could do if they spent their full time in the Truck Series or the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. And that's a tough argument to make, quite frankly. And that's why I think, again, you have to, it really has to be something exceptional. So let's now kind of bring this all together and talk about Justin Allgaier. And I really like to root for Justin Allgaier. He's an easy guy to root for. There's a couple guys that I'm going to bring up here that like Ricky Rudd I'm going to talk about. And I love Ricky Rudd. I have a Ricky Rudd diecast sitting at my house. But I have to be fair and honest of like what my opinion on the NASCAR Hall of Fame is and should be. So Justin Allgaier has one championship. And if you look at his, oh, and he was never able to really succeed at the cup level. I mean, he has two top tens in 87 races. That's not good. We've seen him in the 48 this year. He hasn't been very good. He had his chance with RCR. Yes, they weren't great. Um, no, sorry, H. Scott rather. He had his chance with H. Scott. Yes, they weren't good. But that never got him anywhere else, right? But so you look at Justin Allgaier, and in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, he only wins 6% of the time, right? So in his series, he has one championship and wins 6% of the races that he's entered in. And he's got a total of 31, is it? 31 race wins, that being that he just got his 31st on Saturday at Martinsville, right? So one championship, 31 wins, wins 6% of his races. Let's take Ron Hornaday, who is a Hall of Famer. Ron Hornaday won, I believe, 54 races is the number. He won 14% of the time in trucks and has four championships, right? So to me, for a full-time truck guy, he is the pinnacle of a full-time truck guy. He won 14% of his races that he entered in, which is an astounding clip, and again has the four championships. Mike Stefanik is another guy, seven-time Whelen Modified Tour champion in his time in his NASCAR series, which is the tie for the most all time. And he won 16% of the races that he entered. So 16% of the time that Mike Stefanik was in a race in the NASCAR Modified Tour, he would win that race. Richie Evans is another modified guy. He won 8 straight modified championships and got 9 in total. So again, like monumental numbers. Now, this was before it was, I think, all like the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. So that's why like Stefanik kind of holds that crown. But Richie Evans in his NASCAR sanctioned modified kind of series, again, a 9-time champion, right? So and then I just want to put the 6% of the time winning percentage for Allgaier into like perspective. So I'm going to take a guy like Kyle Busch, who, right, he has won 63 cup races in 757 races. That is 8% of the time. So Kyle Busch, with as bad as he's been the last like 3 or 4 years, he still has an 8% winning percentage in the Cup Series, which is an astounding mark in total. Like that's a huge number. Then again, like, because I'm going to bring all this together, Kyle Busch wins nearly a third of the time in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. So Kyle Busch has only ran 367 races in the O'Reilly series. Allgaier has ran 511. In Kyle Busch's 367 starts, he's won 102 times. He has 267 top tens, which is more than two-thirds, right? I believe, yeah, of the time he finished in the top 10. He's got 70 poles, okay? And then his truck series numbers, he's almost won half the races that he's entered in. Right? He's 68 wins, 181. You do the math, right around 40% or something like that. So that's just to put into perspective, like how I'm going to tie this all together. When I think of a Hall of Fame, right, to me, it should be the cream of the crop, the best to ever step foot in a car in their, particular craft. And to me, this is just my opinion. I struggle, you know, seeing a guy like Justin Allgaier be on the same pinnacle or pedestal or, statement as Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, who, had an astounding career in any series, in all of his series, right? Guys like that who won at the highest level, who won at the, in between kind of series levels, if you will, or the grassroots series, as Denny called them, I struggle putting a guy like Allgaier into the Hall of Fame. And again, he's a great driver. He's a great driver for his craft, but in my opinion, he's not a Hall of Famer. And I'm going to take this a step further. I look at a guy like Ricky Rudd. Is Ricky Rudd on the same level as Earnhardt and Gordon and Mark Martin and Carl Edwards and Mike Stefanik, who I mentioned, and those guys? Like, I don't know. Again, I love Ricky Rudd, but I don't see Ricky Rudd as, that level of this is the premier group of stock car racers or NASCAR racers that we've ever seen. Like Ricky Rudd was a very, very, very good driver, but Hall of Fame, I struggle with that. I just do. I even think I'll take this another step farther. To me, like Jeff Burton is a perfect example of like how the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, should work. A guy that has been on the ballot for a while, and if he does get his day, it's going to be so rewarding for him. But like, I don't think personally, like we need people voted in every year. Like, I don't think we have to, of the list of nominees, say, hey, two are going to go in from here and one from here. Like, I don't think we have to do that. The MLB Hall of Fame, like, you know, that doesn't always happen. There's some years where nobody gets voted in because again, you have to get X percentage of vote in some years with the ballot the way that it is, or how kind of people are voting and feeling about a certain player, or in this case, a driver. Like we don't have to throw people in the Hall of Fame every year. We don't have to do that because there's only so many seats. There's only so many drivers. There's only so many opportunities. There's only so many people that retire every year that are at like even good enough to be put on this pedestal. Like we don't have to constantly be voting people in. Like I think this should be again the cream of the crop, the pinnacle, the absolute top level of drivers that you will ever see inside of our Hall of Fame. That is my opinion. That is, how I see all of this. So to me, like, you know, I look at the ballot next year, and Kevin Harvick is a lock. He's one of the greatest you will ever see, the closer, a champion, over 60 Cup wins. I think Greg Biffle is sort of a borderline guy. Like I think he'll probably uh be voted in and deservingly, but I think he's a borderline guy, right? Because what, the Biff won 21 cup races, 19 cup races. Did have, like a good finished second in '05, but 20 O'Reilly wins, 17 Craftsman Truck Series wins. So that's where I think like somebody like Biffle has that resume builder to say, okay, you did it at the highest level. You won 19 races, which is a pretty darn good number to get to. You won 20 in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, which is a solid number. You're an O'Reilly champion. You're a Craftsman Truck Series champion. You won 17 in that go round. You also were out of the sport for years and then came back and was thrown right into a truck in Texas in 2019 after being out of the sport for 3 years and win immediately. Like that to me, like that just shows that this guy is a like one of the best again that we've ever seen. But I even think from a numbers standpoint, he's a little borderline, but I think he would be deserving to get in. So my just overall point is that when we think about the Hall of Fame, I don't think we have to vote people in every year. I don't. I don't think we have to do that. I think we have to think about the legends of the sport, and we have to start to ask ourselves, you know, should this person or this driver rather be, or actually, no, let me rephrase that. This person, rather, because it could be a crew chief, it could be a driver, it could be what a team owner. You know, is this person, or do we feel comfortable saying this person is on the same level as, from a driver's standpoint, Earnhardt, Gordon, Mark Martin, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch? Do we feel comfortable saying like that class is even? Because obviously there's levels to everything, but again, just to have them in the same sentence right? Do we feel comfortable with that? That's, I think, the question that needs to be asked with kind of all this Hall of Fame chatter. So, yeah, I think it's fun to debate and talk about, but I want to know what you guys think. Is Allgaier a Hall of Famer in your opinion? Who are some kind of borderline guys that you think may have gotten in, but maybe you thought, I'm not sure I would have them in the Hall of Fame, but they're, great at what they did. I'd be interested. So let me know in the comment section down below if you like this video, give it a like. And if you enjoy NASCAR content, press that subscribe button down below because it goes a long way for the channel. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time.